On a dark, rain-soaked night, a lone driver makes their way down a deserted road. Through the gloom they see a figure by the roadside, a young woman drenched and shivering. Taking pity, they stop and offer her a ride. She silently climbs into the back seat, her eyes wide with gratitude but filled with an unspoken sadness. As the driver reaches their destination and turns to speak, they find the back seat empty. Only a damp patch remains where the woman had sat. The driver later learns that the woman had died on that very road years ago, her spirit forever trying to find her way home. In the stillness of the night, a spectral bride roams a desolate stretch of road. Clad in a flowing white gown, her face veiled in sorrow, she searches for something, or someone. Those who encounter her say she appears suddenly, her presence as cold as the grave. She is the woman in white, a bride who died tragically on her wedding day, her life cut short by a car accident. Her spirit is doomed to wander, eternally seeking the love she lost. Drivers who see her are overcome with a deep, inexplicable sadness, their hearts heavy with the weight of her endless grief. Late at night, in the quiet, lonely streets, a sinister figure emerges. Known as the Smiling Man, he is tall, thin, and dressed in an old-fashioned suit. His most terrifying feature is his smile, a wide, unnerving grin that never fades. The Smiling Man follows people silently, his eyes fixed on them with an unsettling intensity. He never speaks, never breaks his stride. Those who encounter him are paralyzed by fear, unable to escape his gaze. Some say he is a harbinger of doom, others believe he is a ghost of someone who died with a smile etched on their face. Whatever the truth, his eerie presence leaves a trail of fear in his wake. In the narrow alleyways of the city, there is a dark presence that follows the unsuspecting. This entity, known as the Lurking Shadow, is a formless mass of darkness that moves silently, blending with the night. Those who sense it feel a chill run down their spine, their instincts screaming at them to flee. The Lurking Shadow is a predator, feeding on fear and despair. It stalks its prey, growing stronger with each step they take into the shadows. Some say it is the embodiment of the city's darkest secrets, a creature born from the collective fears of its inhabitants. To encounter the Lurking Shadow is to face your deepest, most primal terror. In a quiet, unassuming neighborhood, there have been reports of a strange creature that appears at night. Known as the Clawfooted Creature, it is said to have long, twisted limbs and feet that end in sharp, claw-like appendages. It moves silently, its presence revealed only by the deep scratches it leaves on doors and windows. Those who have seen it describe a hunched figure with glowing eyes, its movements unnaturally fast and fluid. The creature seems to have a fascination with homes, peering through windows and leaving marks as if to claim its territory. Residents live in fear, wondering when it will strike next and what it truly wants. In a historic hotel, there is a room that guests are warned never to enter. This room, once occupied by a wealthy recluse, is said to vanish without a trace, taking its occupants with it. Known as the Disappearing Room, it is a place where time and space seem to warp, leaving those inside trapped in a different dimension. Guests who have dared to stay in the room report strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, the feeling of being watched, and voices whispering just out of earshot. Those who vanish from the room are never seen again, their fate's a mystery. The hotel keeps the door locked, but the room's legend continues to draw the curious and the brave. In a secluded, dilapidated house at the edge of the city, there is a presence that fills the air with sorrow. Known as the Wailing Widow, she is the spirit of a woman who lost her family in a tragic accident. Her cries of grief and despair echo through the empty halls, a mournful lament that chills the blood of those who hear it. The house, long abandoned, is filled with the remnants of her life, a life cut short by tragedy. Visitors report feeling an overwhelming sadness and seeing a ghostly figure in black, her face hidden behind a veil. The Wailing Widow's sorrow is a palpable force, drawing those who hear her cries into her eternal grief. There's a part of the city where the fog rolls in thick and heavy, covering the streets in an eerie blanket. This fog is not like any other. It's said to have a life of its own. Known as the creeping fog, it has a reputation for swallowing up those who dare to venture into it. The legend tells of a small neighborhood by the docks that was once thriving. But one autumn night, a dense fog enveloped the area. By morning, the entire neighborhood had vanished. The people, their homes, and their lives were gone as if they had never existed. Only a few broken remnants and the stories of those who lived nearby remain. Since then, the fog returns sporadically, always targeting the same area. Witnesses describe it as unnaturally thick and cold, a swirling mass that absorbs light and sound. Those caught in the fog report feeling disoriented and lost, unable to find their way out. Some have heard whispers, ghostly voices calling out from the mist, luring them deeper into its depths. The creeping fog is a reminder of the city's unpredictable and sometimes malevolent nature. Locals know to stay away when the fog rolls in, lest they become its next victims. The dockside neighborhood, now just an empty field, stands as a testament to the fog's eerie power. In a quiet residential area, there's a house with a tragic history. It's known as the home of the crying boy. Decades ago, a fire broke out, consuming the house and taking the life of a young boy named Michael. His cries for help were heard by neighbors, but they were unable to reach him in time. The boy's spirit is said to have never left the house. New owners who moved in after the fire reported hearing a child sobbing at night. The cries are soft but heart-wrenching, echoing through the empty rooms. Some have seen fleeting glimpses of a small figure shrouded in shadows, his face hidden by his hands. The crying boy's presence has affected everyone who has lived in the house. Toys move on their own, small footprints appear in the dust, and doors open and close with no explanation. Despite efforts to cleanse the house, the boy's spirit remains, bound to the place where he met his tragic end. Neighbors avoid walking past the house at night, fearing they might hear the sorrowful cries or see the ghostly figure. The crying boy serves as a haunting reminder of the innocence lost, and the sorrow that lingers long after the flames have died down. Among the city's many urban legends, the tale of the midnight bus stands out as one of the most chilling. It's said that there's a special bus that only appears at midnight, offering a one-way trip to nowhere. The story began years ago with a late-night bus service that was discontinued after a tragic accident. The bus, carrying only a few passengers, veered off the road and plunged into a river. All aboard were lost, and the bus was never recovered. Since then, people claim to see the midnight bus at deserted bus stops. It appears out of nowhere, its headlights piercing through the darkness. The bus looks old and dilapidated, its windows fogged up. When passengers board, they find themselves alone, the driver a shadowy figure who never speaks. As the bus moves, passengers report an eerie silence and a growing sense of unease. The cityscape outside fades into a misty, featureless blur. Those who stay on the bus too long often disappear, never to be seen again. The few who have managed to get off describe feeling disoriented and finding themselves miles from where they boarded. The midnight bus is a legend that serves as a warning. If you see it at a stop, resist the temptation to board, for once you step on, there's no telling where or if you will return.